Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 3 of EXU Divergence. So, without anything else to really say before we get into it, let's get into it. We start in Torm's Hill. After the party came near death during a fight with the soldiers of the Strife Emperor, most of them became level 1 with the exception of Garin. It is now the morning after the fight, and the party wake up to the people of Torm's Hill cheering as they look at the valley to the west. Nez says that before it was all ash, now the clouds have become less gray and are more white, and the field that was there before, which was dead and ash, has lots of growth in it, now grass and just plant life growing all over it. The party gather what they need before they head out on their journey. As they get ready to leave, they see many others are doing the same. As Torm's Hill is a safe haven, but it is way too close to the Strife Emperor's land and is still very dangerous. It is not a place for the weak. The party are preparing to head out with their new strength. Garin gains a feature called the Wisdom of the Earth, which gives him an inspiration of a D12 when making a check or some sort of saving throw with having to do with terrain and structures. It's now the morning. They're going to be heading out. A group circles them as they go to leave. Arrow embraces Kelsara and Nez. Kelsara thanks Nia for helping them out, and other doctors are here now to aid so she can leave. Bullray nods to Garin with a hammer in his hand, ready to build whatever he needs to. Taviv tells Phaedra that it's a shame she's leaving, as they could run a good game here without Marlath being a problem for them. Phaedra agrees, but they need to help this place out. She tells Tavine and Otto to help Kelsara and Nez however they can. Tavine touches his tattoo, knowing his past now has a purpose in a good direction, and Otto tells her that they'll do whatever they can to help out around here and to keep bad people out of here. They'll kick the shit out of them if they need to. Tavine and Otto hug Phaedra and cry a bit. Celeste and her kids go up to Crocus. The kids ask if he's really leaving, and Crocus says that's what Phaedra said. Coswood tells the kids that it's alright. Crocus has to take care of Phaedra on their journey. The kids ask why they're leaving, and Phaedra says that there's work to be done still. Coswood says that he'll take care of the kids and Celeste, so they don't have to worry about it. The kids hug Crocus, and Celeste gives him a silver amulet to Crocus. It is a holy symbol of the knowing mentor, but it's damaged a bit, and it's just the hands of the symbol, nothing being held up. She says it was whole once, but it still awaits to hold knowledge. She says that she wants him to carry the knowledge of how people truly see him and how he truly is, by herself and by her kids. She says that they met in a carriage bound for doom because of the way they were seen, but being seen in a bad way can harm them, unless they remember to see themselves who they truly are. Crocus ties it around his belt. Nez looks to Nia. She says that Luz's passing causes great sorrow, but whatever she's doing now, she can tell that she enjoys the joy that others have from their freedom, because of what they did. Nez says that her sister traveled many months ago, but knows that Nia will find her with no issue. Arrow thanks them for housing them all. Nez says it's what they do. Arrow thinks that they need to be more careful as to not let more Strife Emperor people come around. And Coswold nods to Otto. He thinks that this won't be the last time that they have to fight. Arrow cuts in and says that the people here now have a fire within them. Coswold notes that they also have 7 longswords, so it should be a lot easier for them to fight next time. Arrow apologizes for not staying longer, but they have a calling elsewhere. Nez understands, and Arrow says that he doesn't know if he'll ever come back here, but he's felt their hands in his life and is grateful for them. Nez says that she'll miss him, and Kelsara says that they're always going to be together in some way, shape, or form. Arrow says the new valley is for them, but Nez says the new valley is for free people. The party leaves Torm's Hill. Garin leads them up the mountain a bit. Survival checks. It's much easier now as they're in a much more wooded area, and they're able to find food now with no issue because of their wanderer feats. So survival checks. Garin with a 5, Nia with a natural 1, Crocus with an 8, Phaedra with a 3, and Arrow with a 24. Seems it was not easier for them to do anything. They head up the path, and they move up higher and higher in the mountain. It gets colder, and there's a bit of snow above them. On the first day, it's very slow going, but they can find food with no problem. At the end of the first day, they can see Snowgrave Path, but the path they're currently on actually leads to a massive drop, and they have to head back down and around. As they look down into this massive crevasse below, They see like an 8-foot gap of lichen-covered granite on the mountain. They hear a weird scratching sound coming from it. Perception checks. Arrow with a 12, Phaedra with a 12, Nia with a 12, Crocus with a 19. Garin didn't make a roll because he knew it wasn't going to be a good one. They all see movement, but Crocus can see hundreds, if not thousands, of human skeletons trying to crawl out of the shadows from down here. He sees what looks like a fraction of an undead army that fell into this crevasse, and he sees other scattered bones on the crevasse going downward. It looks like they were taken out in one powerful divine force, but they're not sure how. He tells the others of what he sees, and Arrow can see that there is a way around that nightmare so they don't have to really deal with it. This is a glimpse of the calamity being taken out, but with this small horror before them, they wonder if the horrors of the calamity will ever truly be gone. Garin can see there's no way for the army to get out of where they are, so they seem pretty safe. They start making their way back down the mountain. Survival checks again. Garin with a 10, Nia 16, Crocus a 16, Phaedra with a 14, and Arrow with a 21. They eventually find their way to the base of Snowgrave Path, and they make camp here with ease. Especially with Molten Earth at their disposal. Arrow has been here before, and he knows the servants of the Strife Emperor have taken the place over. Eventually, they go up the path and see off in the distance is an obsidian tower. Arrow tells the others that that's new. It's not on the path exactly, but it's watching the path about 100 feet away. Arrow wants to inspect the tower. Garin makes a perception check of 12. He's very familiar with the slabs that have made this tower. He dug them out. They could sneak past the tower. The party look to see if there's anyone in there, and Crocus rolls the highest on his perception check, but doesn't see life inside. And he also sees that it's 100 feet away from the path, so it's likely that most things inside won't actually be able to see that far in darkness. So they wait for nightfall, and they try to sneak past the tower. As they waited, it began to snow, a little bit heavier than it was before. Stealth checks, Garin with a 2. Nia with a 9, Crocus with a 7, Phaedra with a 25, Arrow with a 17. As they move, it's hard to see the stone beneath the snow that has fallen, and the stone shifts under Garin's foot. From the tower, they hear someone yell hello in common. The party wait a second, and they see a crossbow come out and take aim, but it then falls suddenly and hits the ground. They hear a dang it, because whoever is inside dropped it. Arrow yells out that they want to pass safely, and the voice says that they're under arrest. Nia says that they don't intend to harm the person inside, and the voice says that they can pass. Arrow asks for them to show themselves, and a hobgoblin-sized Strife Emperor helmet comes out into view, wobbling on top of the head of a small goblin. Phaedra asks who they are, and the goblin says that he is the captain of the tower, and he is a proud servant of the Strife Emperor. Phaedra asks how many men there are up there, and he simply says all of them. Insight check 22, they can see that this is an obvious lie. Arrow asks if he is hungry, and the goblin says that he's starving and won't eat his companions. Nia asks what they can call him, and he says Captain Goblin. Nia and him make a deal that they'll feed him a bit if he gives them the weapons of his fallen allies. He agrees, and he comes down the ladder dropping a bag full of swords and other sorts of weapons. He's dressed well for someone in his position. He says that he is Goblin, and he is sworn to the Strife Emperor, but that doesn't mean he can't trade. Arrow asks if he's heard any news from the south, and Goblin says that he doesn't have to tell them if he knows anything. Crocus then stands over top of him, towering over this goblin, and Goblin says that he didn't hear anything. Arrow tells him that Rybad Cole is now gone, and so is the Strife Emperor. Goblin suspected something like this as he saw a winged being come out of the clouds chasing a being of shadow. He smoted the mountain with a horde of skeletons on it, and the shadow was smoted as well. Goblin's captain told him and the others in the tower to shoot the winged creature. It turned and began to glow. He heard a voice ask if it believed in a world where all beings can live in freedom and peace. Inside of himself, he answered yes. Outwardly, he said no. When the light faded, everyone around him was dead, and he was all that was left. Seems they had a different answer to the question that he was asked. He says he's been here for 8 days and is very hungry. Arrow throws him some bread, and Goblin says that Snowgrave's path isn't safe. Very few have come through recently. Arrow asks for information, and Goblin says that their job was to patrol the area on this side of the mountain so people didn't go to the other side of the mountain, more so protecting the area of the Strife Emperor. They would try to stop the occasional escapee. He asks if the Strife Emperor is truly gone, and the party say yes. He asks what he's to do now, and the party say to follow his heart, and he says that's terrible. What if his heart is wrong? Phaedra notes that the people around him are all dead. Their hearts were wrong. Goblin says that's because they guessed the wrong answer to a riddle. The party note that his heart knew correctly. Phaedra questions why he's still here in this place, alone, where no one cares about him. Garin walks up and asks how many lives he's taken for the Strife Emperor. Goblin cries and says none. He wasn't a very good follower. Garin says that he's already been on the path of kindness. Goblin says that he was always faithless and couldn't strike the disobedient. He was too afraid. Not sure why. Crocus simply looks up at the dark obsidian tower behind him. He could never do what he was told, and Crocus is shocked that he wasn't killed. Goblin says they needed someone to carry their things. Arrow asks if he can lift a hammer, and Goblin says yes. Arrow points him towards Torm's hill, and says that there's others there who will take him in, and he'll be able to find his next steps. Garin asks what they can call him now after losing his titles, and Goblin removes his helmet and simply says, Goblin. Goblin says their kindness flies in the face of all of his beliefs. He asks why they didn't just strike him down. Arrow says that he didn't wish to harm them back either, so it's fair. Garin notes that likelihood that Goblin couldn't have hurt them anyway. I don't know, Garin, you're still a commoner. He says safe travels to them and notes that the last person that came through here was about 4 months ago, and he actually looks at Nia. Apparently they look similar. Nia says that was her sister and she's likely fine. Goblin hopes they find her as he was impressed by her cleverness to escape them. Nia notes that he's hard on himself and should be kinder to himself. That mercy that he showed others, he should, have the same for himself. It's probably why he's still alive. Garin says that he judges himself by stuff that doesn't matter anymore. Goblin takes the symbol of the Strife Emperor off himself. Phaedra says that it's hard to step out of the darkness, but it gets a little easier. Goblin says that he took it off not to get shot on sight when he goes to wherever he's heading, but it felt good for other reasons. It's just hard to know that everything you've done meant nothing. He says that he hates what he's done for bad people, and he'll hate himself for a long time for it. Nia hopes it's not for too long. He's seen cruelty, and he's also seen kindness. He can pick what path to walk on. Before leaving, he says kindness then and wishes them good luck. Crocus tells him to look for the others with the same tattoo as his, the roach, and he questions if they'll actually be understanding. Phaedra says that they'll understand the darkness that he's leaving behind. Arrow gives him some good berries and tells him to eat them slow, and Goblin says that this is the strangest days of his life and begins to walk down the mountain. Garin rolls an insight check to see if he's truly going to take their advice and actually use it. But with a 15, Garin will never really know if he'll take the chance to change or not. He might go to Torm's Hill, or he might find some Strife Emperor servants and join them up again. The takeaway is that they need to make more places like Torm's Hill. They look at the bag of goodies that Goblin gave them. There's daggers, crossbows, swords, all sorts of stuff, a scimitar. The party kit themselves out. Garin finds himself a breastplate and hammers out the symbol of the Strife Emperor. They choose to rest up here for the night. Arrow looks over the night and sees off in the distance a snowy lake, and he watches it for hours. Nothing interrupts their rest. Arrow updates his map with the tower being on the path. He looks at the spot where it was glowing, and he sees that it's somewhere on the Snowgrave path. He knows that somewhere near them is the spot that he wants to be. Crocus takes his watch after a while so that Arrow can rest. Nia couldn't sleep, she was just thinking about finding her sister again. As Garin finishes up his armor, he notes the display of power it was to just take the obsidian from Rybat Coal and to bring it here and make it as a tower, when there's other stones around that he could have made it out of. Garin realizes that one of the slabs that's in this room was the one that fell on his arm, and that it's the reason that his arm needed to be cut off. Garin begins to chip away at the stone with his hammer and chisel. He carves in the symbol of the All Hammer into the wall. He then makes a perception check of 16. He sees that his artistry here is flawless, and he's carved the symbol of hope on this stone that had wounded him in the past. The world can change through honest work and creation. He then gets some rest. Nia, however, gets up and looks at the symbol that Garn made. The moon then hits it at just the right angle, and the symbol, as she looks at the symbol, she feels a sigh of relief in the world here, as if long-lost siblings have been reunited. Sorrow leaves, and the sense that wrongs can be righted fills the air. The next morning they head out. Arrow leads the group to the lake. They see a mountain lock area here full of water. Arrow goes to the waterfront and he's lost in thought. He goes to a large stone sticking up out of the water. He falls to his knees here, and Nia puts her hand on his shoulder and reminds him that he's not alone even here with the memory of this place. Arrow asks if the rest know that he's not from Grishar. They ask where he's from, and he says that he's from Asilra, and that he came here, that his parents followed the Platinum Dragon. They lived in Seagate, and they helped people flee the horrors over here. One day he heard the Lord of the Hells and his enemies clashing, and they spilled into his home. He and his mother fled after his father died that day. They sailed across the sea, but there was nothing here. Him, his mother, and a man named Skull were the ones that sort of survived from that trip. Skull taught him what he knows about the living in the wilderness now, and they went looking out for other people. And when they came back, the others from Asilra were gone. They found a place like Torm's Hill, where his mother died after it fell to sickness. He left with Skull until Skull died, and Arrow gave up on belief. He didn't believe in anything anymore. One day he found his way here, near death, and he met another woman with beautiful white scales. She was also near death. Her name was Diana. They lived here for a year together, and he found belief again, until the Strife Emperor's people came and found them, slashing his throat, and she died, killing 3 of them, and then Arrow killed the last few and then ran for his life. He gave up yet again. She used to say that change was coming. They might not see it, but it'll come. She was right all those years ago. Phaedra notes that his actions are not of a man that gave up. He says that sometimes the sediment builds up and you need others to chip away at it. Nia hugs him and says that she saw in him what they're doing now. Nia says that change in his heart will never leave. She can't imagine their love, but she knows that that love lives on in Arrow. Nia thinks the changes they see now are the ones that she foretold. Garn says the smallest act of creation can make a big change in the world. He says that Arrow was changed by her and he changed them. Who knows how much longer her influence will last, and he carves the words, "Change is coming," into her gravestone. Crocus goes into the lake. He's never swam before and enjoys it a bit. Arrow goes to the edge of the lake and puts his arms into it to feel closer to her. He takes the stone from the lake and they head out. He remembers her face, her holy symbol of the Moonweaver, and her words that things will get better. They then head back up the mountain. Survival checks: Arrow with a 21, Nia with Phaedra with a 19, Crocus with an 8, Nia with an 18, and Garn with a 3. It's a long day's travel, but Arrow knows the area very well. Garn sees carved steps into the path, knowing that people have cared for this by hand in the past. They reach the top of the mountain where they see a flat stone face that is underneath a pine tree where the roots sort of go around the stone. They see how far up they are now. Phaedra with a natural 20 sees that the roots are on her investigation check. Sees that the roots come to a circle around the rock here. It's almost like a rock covering a cave. And she also sees that there's a crack in the rock that her knife can fit into. She puts it in the crack and the safe opens up and the rock rolls to the side, opening up into a dark space. It's very warm in there. Phaedra looks for traps with a natural 20 on her investigation check, and she takes the lead because there's no traps. She goes down and she finds a massive treasure. The rest go in after her. Nia sees the symbol of the Moonweaver. They find books and all sorts of art and all sorts of other random stuff. It looks like the treasure of a world that is being destroyed. There's some loving order to this place here. Phaedra finds a massive silver shield with a dragon on it. Right next to it are some dolls. They wonder who made this and who collected it all. There's a table and a fireplace that looks like it was used to make meals here. This place has been used recently, and there are steps going to another entrance. Phaedra feels like the fire was lit not too long ago, so whoever was here last was very recent. Garin turns to make sure that no one is at the entrance they came down. No one is there. As they look around, Arrow realizes the shield that Phaedra found was with a dragon on it was his mother's, the very same she used. Not the same type, the exact one. He picks it up and says that there's never been a week like this week. He tells the others that it was his mom and there's no way that she was up this far. The last time he saw her, he was maybe 11 years old. The rest see a whole bunch of other religious type stuff. The shield's name is the Honor's Last Stand. They look for other magical items here. Phaedra finds a key with a maze on it that has a ruby gem in it. They find more items than they can carry. They do find a lot of Moonweaver stuff and some Allhammer stuff. There's a steel-crafted hammer with with dwarven ruins on it and the symbol of the Allhammer. And there's also a silver-wrapped hand mirror. Phaedra gives the mirror to Nia, and Nia looks into it. But first she looks at the stairs going into a different room. She's a little nervous about that. She then looks into the mirror again, and she sees the Fae make of it. She looks at her face, and she thinks of the lessons and the loss and the Moonweaver, Luz, and how solemn she is right now. Arrow thinks this is as impossible as meeting a moon person from Ruidus. Nia sees in the mirror Liana, who puts her fingers to her lips and runs back down the staircase that they didn't come through before. Nia just turns and tries to leave without anyone seeing her, and she rolls a natural 20. She goes invisible thanks to the mirror, and she runs off after her sister. The rest investigate this place. Arrow can't believe this place is real, nor that the shield is here. Why would this good thing happen to them? But he remembers why they're here in the first place, a bug on a map, so no point in questioning it. Garin sees Phaedra holding the hammer. He thinks that the hammer has been in his family before at some point. He looks at the holy symbol on it, and it's the same that he carved into it, or that he carved into the tower the night before. He says it's a miracle. Phaedra also finds a heavy jet black crossbow. Crocus is looking at a chest. There's some gold inside of it. Garin is worried about whoever collected all this stuff being very powerful and doesn't want another enemy on their hands. The chest that Crocus is looking at is called the, and excuse me when I fuck this up, Ogwerpin Vault. I'm going with that because that's probably as close as I'm going to get with it. They open it up and find a gem inside, and it rolls towards Crocus. It rolls towards him, and it almost looks to be the exact same size of the space that goes onto the amulet that Crocus was given by Celeste. The gem fits inside the hands perfectly. Meanwhile, outside, Nia rushes up and sees a different entrance is open. She yells to her sister, who is across on a separate mountain peak. Her sister turns and smiles. Nia doesn't know how her sister got over there. Liana says that she knew that she would make it. Nia tells her to come back over here or she'll get over there somehow. Liana says that she's always loved her, but they couldn't think of another way. Snow suddenly swirls around her, and Liana's body drops. Nia is confused. She flashes back to watching Luz fall. She says that she's here. That should be enough. She followed the Moonweaver. So close to being with her again, and she's hurt by this. In this moment of loss, she's been saying change is coming, but why her again? At this moment, the clouds part, and she can see the brightest crescent moon of all time. Or at least that she's seen in her lifetime. She holds up her moon symbol and begins to bargain again, saying that she can't punish her like this. Nia remembers the scorn that Ondetra displayed on Luz and how petty it was. And in this moment, Nia's rage is different. She believes that she's placing it correctly. She said that she would meet her sister again under the moon, and that she let the faith guide her, and now she feels rage. This is the right feeling. She wanted to believe. She feels pain not being able to get to her sister's body. She's disappointed in what she believes in. She doesn't know where to put her rage now. It was all meant to go to here. Nia doesn't want revenge for this. She thinks back to the last time she saw her sister and said that they were all they needed for each other. Now looking at her sister's body, she knows that was actually a contradiction. Nia is whole. She is all she needs, but she feels that she's lost something as well. It is a contradiction. Her god has let her down, but she believes in her god. Also a contradiction. She hears her sister's voice, "If you believe, go to her side." Nia asks how, and Liana says that she won't fall. She steps off the ledge that she's currently standing on to go to the other peak. The rest of the party realize that Nia's gone. Nia knows that this is a bad idea, and she steps forward, and her foot touches a beam of light, and a beam of light bridge forms that she's able to cross to get to her sister. The rest race down and watch as she does so. The second she gets to her sister, a being made of moonlight with her sister's face the size of a mountain is kneeling over her. They all see the Moonweaver. Tears on her face, Nia holding her sister looks up at her god and asks if she'll ever see her sister again, and the Moonweaver asks if she doesn't recognize her. The Moonweaver shrinks down and they hug. She says that she doesn't want to say goodbye and she didn't know that she would want to stay. The Moonweaver promises a day will come where the two of them will be sisters again. Nia thanks her sister for keeping her promise. In this moment, she realizes that the Moonweaver is her sister. Nia says that she'll always follow her. The Moonweaver says that they're leaving, and the Moonweaver says that she grew up with Nia and knew it was different, that she was different, and she had visions. When they separated, she learned that their parents made it to Vasselheim. She says they'll cover the world with a protective magic to keep the gods out. They couldn't leave it alone, but other siblings of the gods are worried about sharing their gifts. She said as long as there's love, it'll pass through the gate. The love of her sister will be enough to pass it through. The Moonweaver will be the first to go, and she knows that Nia will be strong enough to know that their love is still there. Nia kisses her hands and says that it's unending and she'll watch them from wherever she is. The Moonweaver says that no gift was greater than a life with Nia. Nia asks if the Moonweaver can see Luz, and then Luz suddenly forms out of Moon Knight. Nia realizes that she was always going to be with her sister. The Moonweaver says that Nia has to be the one to show them that even when they're gone, they're still here. The Moonweaver then leaves and Nia becomes the first cleric of a departed god. The party witnesses yet another miracle as the Moonweaver ascends to her realm. They're now back inside the vault. Crocus is confused that the Moonweaver was her sister. Crocus notes that the Moonweaver made this place to protect the people. Nia isn't sure if it was all her, but thinks that it was done to protect them. The party talk about the gods leaving, and it's like the Stormlord said, Crocus is putting a lot of things together himself, which makes the others question how smart he is right now, and he thinks it's the amulet. It's called the Orb of Avalier. It gives a +6 to intelligence and a +4 to wisdom. What the fuck? That's insane. It would be a terrible thing to have in a wizard's hands, depending on the wizard, but in Crocus's hands, not so much. He sees flashes of a time that has long since been destroyed. They see on the orb is Sarah's daughter holding it, and then it's passed down to others of her people until it's landed in the hands of Liana, where it can be held in a safe place. They see the descendant of Sarah hand the amulet over to Liana as he takes her in. They see Liana out put to rest, a dragonborn woman, and then she looks up to the sky, and this is the moment where she realizes who she is. Many times have gods walked in mortal forms. They see the gods going to Aor. She can't see why her sister walked in mortal form, but she can see that her sister. She can see her sister's eyes glow. Maybe she wanted to know the love of an actual sister. Phaedra thinks that it records the events of the history that's happened around it. Crocus thinks this is a lot and asks if they're sure that they can take everything. Nia says Liana guided them here, so yes, they can. Phaedra says good, she wasn't going to give up her crossbow. Garin says that he's never felt this old until now. Crocus asks what they're going to be doing now. Nia says that her parents went to Vasselheim and she would like to see them, but worries that they're also gods. Crocus thinks that the odds are against that happening. It's likely only her sister was a god, because it's weird that she'd be the only non-god. They agree to go to Vasselheim, but it'll be a long journey, but they all have time to spare. They all think of the myth of Vasselheim, the Dawn City, the last city. Who would risk such a trek there? But they all have seen many miracles, so why not? Nia is the first cleric of the departed god and knows that she needs to inform the others of what she's learned. She takes a scroll or a book and writes the story of the Moonweaver on it as they rest up here in this vault. The others carry the knowledge of great weapons, or carry knowledge and now great weapons, and the courage to survive other places need their help. The battle for survival is over. It's now the time to shape the world. Garin doesn't know of any working ports, but he does eventually want to go north. Phaedra wants to go check on Torm's Hill, but that's in the wrong direction. Nia asks Arrow where he wants to go, and he simply says that he'll follow her. Nia looks to Garin and says that he could build a boat if they can't find any ports. And Phaedra asks where Arrow landed. He says west, but that's a long way off. Garin says that he'll walk with them until they get to the coast, and then he'll decide where he's going from there. He doesn't have much time left. Before they leave, Arrow writes down in Celestial on the back of the door here that the world, or if the world is just, let the world reforge. They leave and they seal the door behind them. The party make perception checks. None of them roll high enough, and they don't see the words written on the back of the door in Celestial cast the hollow spell on this place. The party depart from the vault. Survival checks. Most are above 18, with the exception of Arrow, who rolls a nat 1. They travel west over the lands that will one day be known as Teldore. With their high enough rolls, they don't lose the direction that they're going. Brennan then rolls a luck check. On a 19 or a 20, a miracle happens. On a 1 to 5, something bad happens. The first luck roll is a 19. As they rest up, Arrow sees giants walk through the night, going near them. Arrow wakes up Garin, who asks what kind of giants they are. On a nature check of 19, Arrow is wrong. Those aren't giants, those are trees. Trees 30 feet tall, 30 to 40 feet tall, moving towards them. Suddenly, a treant comes over the ridge that they're currently on, but they realize that they were looking at the back of the pact. The tree asks if they serve the betrayers, and the party say no. It tells the others to move around them, and the trees actually do go around them. The tree says that he's Katumara. God, what do I write at like 2 a.m. at night? You know what? We're just going to go with the one that I said. Arrow asks where he's going, and the treant says that they are going to head south to heal the poisoned land where the Strife Emperor once was. The treant asks if they want magic nuts, and the party say yes, and he gives them 15 healing nuts. Nuts of healing, which are just potions of healing. The party then wake up and find that they are surrounded by thick, luscious grass in what was a rocky area before. They continue to travel, and as they travel, Arrow is going to teach Crocus Draconic now that he's a little smarter. The next day, it's a 6 on the luck dice, so nothing happens. The day after that, they roll a 4. The party are traveling at day, and they're camping at night to make use of the open fields here, because it's a little bit better to travel in the open during the day. Arrow knows the area they're in wasn't as bad as the land that was to the south, but there wasn't much game or water here either. As they travel, they all need to make perception checks. Garin, we aren't told what he rolled, it's assumingly really low. Neil with a 1, Crocus with a 23, Phaedra with a 15, and Arrow with a 12. As they move, they can hear the earth trembling. The party find a space to get low, but they know that whatever is happening is over the next hill. Nia casts Augury to see if it'll be a bad idea to investigate or not. She gets the sense of danger, but knows that the hill must be crossed. She tells the others that they agree, and they must listen to that spell. They cross the hill and they see fire, as they see thousands of devils all over the place, burning the place. They see, from the north, a radiant light as unicorns charge the devils, cutting through them. Behind the party, they hear a screech. It's time to roll initiative. Phaedra with a 23, Crocus, Garin, and Nia all get an 11, and Arrow gets an 8. A map comes out. It's really basic. I kind of like it. You know, we get a lot of high production stuff, but now this one's kind of basic and looks exactly like the maps that I would make at home, which is nice. They see an imp has seen them, and there are 2 other devils behind them. Phaedra aims her crossbow and shoots at one of the devils and hits for 13 damage. One of the devils leaps forward, landing between Garin and Phaedra. 1 swing for each. Phaedra is hit. She has to roll a con save, and she does so. She's saving. She is not poisoned, and she takes 7 damage, which drops her immediately. The other hits Garin. Garin fails his con save and is poisoned, but only takes 7 damage total. Crocus is up. He runs for the devil that just hit Phaedra. He slams it for 6 damage, and then bonus attacks for 6 more damage. Nia then shoots her crossbow at the same one Crocus hit, hitting, and she deals 1 damage to it. She then casts Healing Word on Phaedra. She heals for 4 hit points. Garin is up. He swings his new hammer for the devil and hits, dealing 10 damage. This is a commoner stat block, by the way. Arrow is up. He holds up his scimitar, which his mother used, or not the exact same one, but then he holds up his mother's shield, the exact same one, and casts Hunter's Mark on the devil that everyone else is fighting. He circles the devil with Garin and hits for 8 damage, killing that devil. The imp then flies towards Nia. It hits Nia. She needs to make a saving throw and fails, taking 12 damage, downing her. The other devil then runs up for Garin, misses the first attack, and then hits the second attack. Con save for Garin. He takes 5 damage and goes down. Phaedra is up. She puts a nut in Nia's mouth. God, that's a weird sentence. And makes her eat it. Brennan let her do this as a bonus action because she rolled a 22 on sleight of hand. Phaedra then dips behind Crocus and shoots the devil, hitting for 19 damage. Crocus is up. He grabs the imp and slams the imp onto the glaive of the other devil, dealing good damage. He then uses his bonus action to push the imp further on, killing the imp. Nia is healed for 9 hit points, by the way. She is up and she puts a nut in Garin's mouth and heals him with that for 6 HP. Garin is now up. He sits up and swings his hammer, hitting for 8 damage. Arrow is up. He moves his Hunter's Mark to the other devil and then runs for it, dealing 7 more damage. The devil is up and swings for Arrow and hits for 5 damage. The devil swings again and misses. Arrow hears a voice in his head tell him to never miss an opportunity an opponent gives him, and his shield awakens. He can now use a reaction to shove a creature that misses him. He smashes the creature towards Crocus, dealing 5 more damage to the devil. The devil is also prone. Phaedra is up and she shoots the devil and misses. The devil yells for other devils to aid him. Crocus is up and he slams the devil slashes the devil with his claw for 6 damage, and then rips down for 8 more damage. Nia is up. She shoots her crossbow, hitting for 3 damage. The devil is still alive somehow. This thing's cranked. She uses her bonus action to make an offhanded attack with her dagger, but misses. Her crossbow is a hand crossbow, by the way, so she can do that, apparently. Garin is up. He swings and hits for 11 damage, killing the devil. He remembers the creatures that whipped him for years and takes out all of his fury on this one single strike, destroying the devil. They see 6 devils heading towards them, and as they do, they're run down by unicorns. They witness the devils flee, and out of the clouds, griffins with elves on their backs join the hunt. Unicorns ask if they're alright, and the party say yes. The party take this moment it's rare to see one unicorn, but to see a whole group of them is insane. The one who talked to them is Lumia, and a servant of the Archheart. They've come here to drive the devils back to their land. They look and the devils are hopping through portals going back to their realm. Arrow asks how their father is doing, and the unicorn says that he's well, but they think that they've seen him for the last time. They don't think that it's right for beautiful things to leave this world, and Nia says that it's their turn to make beautiful things. The unicorn asks if they need aid. Phaedra asks if there's more danger west. The unicorn says they don't know. The events are very strange, but many of their lord's siblings have vanished, and others must protect the Dawn City still. There's only 2 betrayers left on this world. Garin asks if the Dawn City stands, and the unicorn says it ever stands. He asks if there's a place for them to set sail from, and the unicorn says that there's an ancient port to the west, but is unsure if there will be any ships for them. They must find a white road that will lead them there. It'll be easy for one skilled with stones to find it. Nia asks for some healing, and the unicorn cries on her and all of them, and they all get to heal to max health. The unicorns leave. As they leave, Nia says that she loves them, and the unicorn says that they love her too, and they note that she walks into the light of one who's already left. Nia says that she's ever present, and the unicorns say a day will come where people won't be able to see unicorns, but hopes they still believe. The unicorns then leave. Garin freaks out that they just talked to a bunch of unicorns like a brony. The party then continue west. Not long after that, they find the stones leading towards the fallen city that they were told before. The road is much safer than the open plains. As they travel, the stones are harder to find, but they eventually come across a small town with windmills and buckets. It's abandoned but reclaimed by a bunch of gnomes, or at least that he can see a bunch of gnomes. It's been about 2 to 3 weeks since Ryback Cole fell. Some gnomes have taken over this place. It used to be a human town. They see a gnome collecting water and freaks out as they see him, or as he sees them. They tell him that they're here in peace and he relaxes. Nia explains that they're looking for a white stone road. The gnome says that they found it and that's how they got here. He says that this place, the places they were hiding before, they had beaver-like homes, so like dams and stuff. They couldn't believe it when the sun came out. His name is Armley, and he says that they'll leave if the original owners of this place want to come back and take their houses. Garin says that this is an era of sharing, so that shouldn't be an issue. They give him some nuts. He offers to let them stay for as long as they want, literally forever, he says. The party say that they just want to stay the night and find a port. Armley says there's a port to the north here, and some of their people have sailed before, so they'll be able to help. While his people are normally lake people, north of the lake they hid in is a place called the Narrows where there's deep water, and ships should be there. The party choose to stay here for the night and then go that way. Armley says that some of their people know how to sail and know their way there to the Narrows, so they can help them out. He asks why they need a port, and Arrow says that they're going to be sailing across the sea to the dawn. Armley just laughs at that. He takes them down to the village where they see more survivors, similar to Torm's Hill. For the first time, the clouds truly part, and they are in the warmth of the sun's light. A merfolk walks up to the party. His name is Tristan. He says that he's aware that they looked across the sea and says that it is possible. He knows that the armies of the gods have come across the sea before. He asks where they're going, and they all say Vasselheim. Tristan says the last time that he was on a ship, it fell because his parents believed they could reach the Dawn City. He was the only one to survive. He'll take them to where they want to set sail, and hopefully they can find a ship there. Arrow says that they have a great deal of hope with them, so it should be fine. Tristan says that he's been looking for something to do for a while now, so this is good. The party rest up for the night, and they head out with Tristan. Days pass as they make their way to the Narrows, and they have no issues as the forces of the Prime Deities have been through here before. They make camp near deep water. They can see the harbor is filled with bones of the dead and weapons all over the place of a battle long ago. Tristan says that they can wait here for a boat to come by, but he isn't sure how long it's been since one has come through. Arrow says that they might have to move up the coast to find passage. Nia thinks going north might be a good idea, as they've gone as far west possible as they can go. The party know that there are ships that take things between the Betrayer God kingdoms, but the world is in chaos right now, so it's unclear how long that'll take. As they are ready for bed, Phaedra looks at the key that she found and she hears a voice say hello to her. She asks who it is, and it simply says the key. She asks what it does, and it says open stuff, but doesn't know much about itself outside of it wants to do what it was meant to do. It asks if Phaedra, what Phaedra is for, and she says that she is for protecting her friends. Phaedra looks for some doors, and the key says that it can sense some doors moving out westward, and says that it's going up and down, up and down, up and down. The key thinks that it's a door on a moving building in the water somewhere, aka a boat. Phaedra wakes Nia and tells her and the others that there's a boat coming, and that the key told her about it. The key gets upset that she's sharing its secrets, and the key asks if she would like the key to talk to the door on the boat. Phaedra would very much like that, and a red light comes out from the key, and the light shoots out westward. Everyone wakes up because of this, and they explain what's going on and that the boat will be there tomorrow. The party just accept this, and they all go back to bed. The next day, through the fog, the party see white sails come through and a ship headed towards the harbor. It docks, and the party see a figure. He says that he is Garalin, a warrior of Vasselheim. Arrow actually recognizes him. He's a friend of their parents. Garalin says that they heard that there are survivors here, and the seas are calm for the first time in ages. They were sent to look for survivors. Arrow steps forward and asks if he knows who he is, and he does recognize him, and Garalin hugs him. He asks if his mother and Skull are alright, and Arrow says that it's been a long time. Arrow asks if he's heard of what's happened to the gods, and Garland says that their victory is at hand, and they will walk amongst them again. Nia explains what's actually going to happen to the gods and how they're leaving. Gararlin asks what they'll do without him, and Crocus says that they'll figure it out. Nia says that great things will continue to happen. Arrow says the gods have cast long shadows over the world for a while, and now there's sun. Nia says that she's been charged with the Moonweaver's tale, and she must share what she knows with others. He says that they must get them to Vasselheim as soon as possible. He says there's beds on board. Garin looks at the ship and says that he has one more journey in him and he must see the Cliff Keep again. He isn't sure if he'll be able to make his way back if he goes on the ship. Arrow says something is holding this group together. He should go a little further and that Arrow will take him the rest of the way. Garin says alright, and he goes on the ship even though he's nervous about it. They all get on and they head towards Vasselheim, and the session ends here. So there you have it, episode 3 of EXU Divergence. And this one was interesting. There was a lot of like good stuff, a lot of payoff happening to a handful of characters, sort of story arcs and sort of a continuation of their story arcs, which is really cool. I'm very excited for what's coming next. I'm still confused as to why Garin is level 1, maybe like or isn't level 1 yet. I mean, I'm curious if that means like this is a character who just isn't going to do anything after this, like he's going to go home and chill after this or whatever. And it seems like the others are sort of being set up to be like great people in the past that we'll eventually hear about someday, who knows. But I am very curious as to why he's still level 0 compared to everyone else. But overall, I thought this was a lot of fun. There was some really good roleplay in here, and yeah, I very much enjoyed this episode. I kind of figured that Nia's sister was going to be a god. There was just a lot of hints pointing towards that, so that was really cool for it to actually be the case. So that's really cool. But yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys think about this episode. So yeah, I will see you guys on Monday for whatever video I make next. Peace.